A student's overview of the ageless wisdom was carefully compiled from the following books by Alice A. Bailey. A Treatise on Cosmic Fire. Esoteric Psychology, Volumes 1 and 2. Esoteric Healing. Esoteric Astrology. The Rays and the Initiations. Students are encouraged to download the free PDF version of this overview by following the link in the video's description, or to order a printed copy at cost from thebookpatch.com, but are advised to read the original, unabridged books in order to gain deeper insight into the ageless wisdom. Students are also invited to join our online study group at facebook.com/groups/students of the ageless wisdom. Chapter 68: The Rays and the Initiations. The Rays and the Initiations. We now come to the final part of a treatise on the 7 rays, and I have in mind 3 things which it appears to me to be necessary to do. These 3 will make this treatise not only the textbook of the new psychology but also a more vital factor in the human consciousness, because the fact of initiation will be emphasized. These 3 are: 1. I propose to deal with the theme of initiation in order to prepare the world of men for the restoration of the mysteries. 2. I will give some definite teaching on the centers from the planetary angle and also from the angle of the individual aspirant. 3. I will endeavor to relate the 7 ray energies to the 5 and the 7 initiations and to the 3 and the 7 centers in a new and more arresting manner. This is a large order and one not easy to fulfill because so much has already been given out anent initiation. The subject is dangerously familiar. By that I mean that certain preconceived ideas are already present in men's minds, and many of these are not factual in nature and need to be discarded or, at the best, reinterpreted. I have myself dealt in a broad and general way with the subject of initiation in one of my earliest books, Initiation, Human and Solar. Also, scattered through all my writings over the years is a mass of information which needs collating and bringing together as a basis for the instruction of disciples in training for an initiation. In Discipleship in the New Age, I gave out much more upon this subject and also information of a deeply esoteric nature anent the ashrams of the masters. The second volume of the book also contains much that is new and should serve to bring this whole subject much closer to public understanding. In the instructions now to be given, however, I shall endeavor to cover the ground not already considered, and look at the subject of initiation from the angle of the 7 rays, from the effect upon the centers, planetary and individual, and from the point of view of the esoteric training of the accepted aspirant or disciple. This final volume of a treatise on the 7 rays will eventually change the attitude of men's minds towards the mysteries and towards the activity of spiritual transference, which is one of the names given by the masters to the basic mystery of initiation. Teaching anent the 5 initiations which confront all aspirants has long been given and has become public property. It has meant very little for most people and nothing at all to the mass of men. It has been regarded by the intelligentsia as vague and visionary nonsense. Some few have admitted that these initiations may be possible, and others say that they are simply symbolic modes of indicating some final achievement which mankind faces. Still others have accepted this teaching and have come to regard the initiations as goals and have then taken the necessary steps to prove the veridical nature of their beliefs. They have proved it, have become initiate, and have attained the status of master of the wisdom and taken their place within the hierarchy. There is, therefore, a certain familiarity about these goals, the service they could entail and the consummation of the hierarchical possibilities. This itself indicates that the time had come when certain faint indications of that which lies behind the mysteries and of that which is to be seen ahead of those who have achieved initiation should be somewhat clarified. I therefore started to impart 3 phases of information. 1. I gave out teaching which indicated the mode of bridging the gap between the lower 3 worlds and the world of the spiritual triad. In doing this, it became apparent that there were 3 groupings or levels of consciousness which had to be recognized. A. The 3 worlds of human evolution. 1. The mental plane. 2. The astral plane. 3. The physical plane. B. The 3 levels of the mental plane. 1. The level of the concretizing mind, the lower mind. 2. The level on which the soul is to be found. 3. The level of the abstract or higher mind. End of page 346. Between the higher 3 and the lower 3 and embracing the mental plane was a definite gap, a break in the continuity of conscious contact or an area where there was no channeling for the inpouring of higher energies. Here the teaching of the conscious building of the Antakarana was required, thus the gap between the mental unit and the manasic permanent atom, between the personality, indwelt by the soul, and the spiritual triad could be bridged by the aspirant himself. 2. I found it necessary also to indicate the nature of the way of the higher evolution which had been hinted at but about which absolutely no information had been given. It is the way which opens out before the master of the wisdom, leading to states of identification and levels of awareness which lie outside our planetary sphere altogether. The following of this way enables the master to abstract himself from the 7 planes of our planetary life and divest himself of all we understand as material existence. Forget not that our 7 planes are only the 7 subplanes of the cosmic physical plane. 3. I therefore opened up the subject of the possibility of the higher initiations which confront the members of the hierarchy. In this connection it is useful to remember that a. The council chamber at Shambhala provides a goal for the members of the hierarchy, but not an abiding place. B. The 7 paths which stretch out before a master are entered by the treading of the way of the higher evolution. C. The so-called 3rd initiation, the transfiguration, is only the first major initiation. From the standpoint of the hierarchy, it marks the moment in time and space when the initiate sees truly and for the first time the door which opens onto this higher way. Then, if he chooses the path that the Christ chose, and there is no reason that he should, he will set his face to go up to Jerusalem. Teaching, if true, must be in line with the past and must provide scope for endeavor in the present and must also hold out further enlightenment for those who have succeeded or are succeeding in attaining the indicated goals. There must be a spiritual future indicated. It is that which is required now, for many are attaining the goals proposed by the hierarchy, and others are working towards them. The taking of initiation is now often to be seen and is far more frequent today than at any other time in the history of the race. For those who have thus succeeded, the next step forward and the new spiritual enticement must be clearly disclosed. Evolution is not a static thing, death cannot be the reward of living effort. To be static, to have attained all that can be attained, and to be at a complete standstill would be utter death and, my brothers, there is no death. There is only progress from glory to glory, a moving forward from point to point on the divine way, and from revelation to revelation towards those points and revelations which are perhaps part of the goal of God Himself. It is interesting to realize that the unfoldment of the love nature is that which opens the door which leads to the way of the higher evolution, and that nothing else will open it. This way leads the master of the cosmic physical plane onto the cosmic astral plane, or to a level of cosmic awareness whereon is generated that cosmic impulse which we call love. Those that have eyes to see and ears to hear will read between the lines and correctly interpret my symbols, hints and references. To many what I will say will be as meaningless as a treatise on cosmic fire is to the average reader, and as the entire theme of initiation is to the ignorant and the undeveloped man. Much, however, should be of practical service to the struggling disciple, and I want in these concluding pages to fire his zeal, deepen his understanding, stimulate his capacity to love, and enlighten his mind. Such is what I seek to do. On his part, let him approach this subject with deep humility, with a meditative and reflective attitude, and with a refusal to materialize the presented concepts, as is so easy a thing to do. Let him refuse to step down the teaching to the level of his physical consciousness. In these words I have conveyed a basic hint. Love and light are the great revealers, and if the student truly seeks to understand and profit by what I am endeavoring to teach, let him love all men more deeply, and let him see to it that his light shines forth in a dark place, for in that light shall he see light. It is the lesser light within that reveals the greater light. When the light of the soul combines with the light of the lower man, then that fused and blended light will enable the aspirant to see the door which opens upon the way of the higher evolution. End of page 347. Humanity occupies a midway point between the subhuman and the superhuman kingdoms, and each of these groups of evolving lives has its own important destiny, important to all contained within the group ring pass not. They have their own chosen and differing modes, methods and ways of achievement. Just as individual man has to learn the art or science of relationship to other men and to his environment, so humanity as a whole has to learn its relationship to that which lies above and beyond mankind, and with that which is below and left behind. This involves a sense of proportion which can be attained only by the mind principle in man and by those who are beginning to be mentally polarized. This sense of proportion will reveal to men their place upon the ladder of evolution and lead them to the recognition of the peculiar destiny and unique goals of other kingdoms in nature, including the fifth kingdom, the kingdom of God, the spiritual hierarchy of our planet. The hierarchy is itself also at a point of spiritual crisis. Its initiates stand before the door which leads to the way of the higher evolution, and the entire personnel of the hierarchy waits to make a united move forward, paralleling, on its own level, the move forward which humanity is also destined to make. But, my brothers, here is the point of interest. Under the great law of synthetic expression, called by us the law of synthesis, the law governing the first divine aspect, the hierarchy must move forward in such a manner that the effort must encompass the physical plane as well as the higher planes. The activity engineered must cover the three worlds of human evolution as well as the three worlds of the spiritual triad. Forget not the overlapping of these two worlds which takes place upon the mental plane and warrants the well-known phrase the 5 worlds of superhuman evolution. Hence, therefore, the necessity for the externalization of the hierarchy and the demonstration of their united ability to work from the physical plane up to the highest, in order to move unitedly through this door onto the way. Speaking symbolically, this externalization is for the members of the hierarchy an act of sacrificial service, but it is also a symbolic gesture. The hierarchy incarnates on Earth again, and for the first time since its last incarnation in Atlantean days. It is, however, a group incarnation and not the incarnation of individual members. The externalization of the hierarchy, therefore, and the restoration of the mysteries, are not something done for humanity or simply carried out because men have earned a closer contact, have the right to some reward, or are now so spiritual that the hierarchy can have a good and useful time helping them. The picture is entirely different. What looms with such importance in the consciousness of men is, in reality, quite secondary in relation to the hierarchical crisis which we are considering. This reappearance upon the physical plane and the consequent life of service, involving factors of profound significance to men, are an expression of the inherent spiritual impulse which is impelling hierarchical action in two directions but involving one unified movement, embracing all the 5 planes of superhuman evolution and necessitating a group recapitulation of incarnated process. The hierarchy has its own life and its own goals and objectives, its own evolutionary rhythm and its own spiritual expansions. These are not the same as those of the human kingdom. These goals and rhythms will become more familiar to thinking men as the hierarchy approaches closer to the physical plane. The mysteries are revealed not primarily by the reception of information anent them and their processes, but by the action of certain processes, carried out within the etheric body of the disciple. These enable him to know that which is hidden. They put him in possession of a mechanism of revelation and make him aware of certain radiatory and magnetic powers or energies within himself which constitute channels of activity and modes whereby he may acquire that which it is the privilege of the initiate to own and to use. The disciple upon the probationary path starts off on his quest for the door of initiation, and for that which he will contact after passing through that door, with a definite equipment and created mechanism. This has been acquired, and facility in its use has been attained, through many cycles of incarnation. An incarnation is a definitely determined period, from the angle of the soul, wherein experiment, experience and expression are the keynotes in each incarnation. Each successive incarnation continues the experiment, deepens the experience and relates the expression more closely to the latent unfolding divinity. Every initiation is approached by the disciple or initiate in a spirit of divine experimentation, but with a scientific aspect, because an initiation is a culminating moment of achievement, and success is a graded series of experiments with energy. End of page 348. Having garnered the fruit of the experiment above indicated, there follows a certain period wherein experience in the use of the related potencies takes place. This occupies the interlude between one initiation and another. This may cover a period of many lives or prove relatively short. The results of the experiment of initiation and of experience with the then endowed energies emerge as the ability of the initiate to express divinity more fully than heretofore. This means that he increasingly can function as a divine creator in relation to the hierarchical plan, as the manipulator of the attractive energies of love, and as one who determines under the impelling will of Shambhala, the phase or aspect of the divine purpose with which he must himself be occupied in relation to the manifestation of the planetary logos. You will note that I do not say in relation to humanity. The initiate works in many fields of divine creativity, of which the field of mankind is only one. I would have you consider with me the various aspects of our sectional theme from the angle of the 7 rays. By this I mean that disciples upon the different rays will all have the same goal, make the same experiments, go through the same experience and arrive equally at divine expression. However, their qualities and their modes of approach, their reactions and their distinctive natures will differ according to their ray type. This constitutes a most interesting and little-known phase of our study of initiation. Initiation has been a blanket happening, and no note has been made of the ray implications. This I propose to remedy. Each of the 7 initiations, for instance, is an exemplification or a revealer of one of the 7 ray qualities or tendencies. It is governed and conditioned always by a certain ray, and this is one of the factors which disciples have to learn and grasp whilst preparing for an initiation, because it involves success in handling and manipulating certain types of divine energy. Each of the initiations brings one or other of the 7 centers into full functioning activity, not from the angle of awakening or of stimulation, but from the angle of a wheel turning upon itself. As esoteric astrologers know well, there comes a life cycle wherein the disciple reverses himself upon the wheel of life, the zodiacal wheel, and from going clockwise around the zodiac, he now begins to go anti-clockwise. He learns that the substance aspect of his nature may still be conditioned by the forces flowing through them sequentially and serially, and according to his horoscope and according to the exoteric mode of the zodiacal revolution. At the same time, the disciple is receiving energy currents from the reversed wheel whereon he, as a soul, finds himself. He is consequently the recipient of 2 currents of energy, going in reverse directions, hence the increased conflict in his life and circumstances. These constitute the reason for the tests of initiation. This, on a tiny scale, is true of the centers in the etheric body of the disciple. They too evidence the same dual activity. Once the path of discipleship is trodden and the path of initiation is entered. The zodiacal wheel is itself essentially a cosmic center. It is a 12-petaled lotus, but it is a 12-petaled lotus within the 1,000-petaled lotus of an unknown cosmic entity, the one referred to in my earlier books as the one about whom naught may be said. The multiplicity of zodiacal influences have eventually a dual effect, one upon Shambhala, the planetary head center, and the other upon the hierarchy, the planetary heart center. The effect is also felt in the head center and the heart center of every initiate. This final dual activity is registered by the initiate of the highest degrees when he undergoes the 8th and 9th initiations. The other 7 initiations are governed by the 7 rays. End of page 349. The rays, initiations and centers. Initiation 1. Birth. Sacral center 7th ray physical plane beginnings relationship sex magic. Initiation 2. Baptism. Solar plexus 6th ray astral plane dedication glamour devotion. Initiation 3. Transfiguration. Ajna center 5th ray mental plane integration direction science. Initiation 4. Renunciation. Heart Center 4th Ray Buddhic Plane Crucifixion Sacrifice Harmony. Initiation 5. Revelation. Base of Spine 1st Ray Atmic Plane Emergence Will Purpose. Initiation 6. Decision. Throat Center 3rd Ray Monadic Plane Fixation Intelligent Cooperation Creativity. Initiation 7. Resurrection. Head Center 2nd Ray Logoic Plane Eternal Pilgrim Love Wisdom Attraction. Initiation 8. Transition. Hierarchy 4 Minor Rays Planetary Choice Consciousness Sensitivity. Initiation 9. Refusal. Shambhala 3 Major Rays 7 Higher Paths Being Existence. A careful study of the above tabulation should give you a somewhat different idea and the whole subject of initiation. The concept which has to supersede the one at present extant is that of group initiation, and not that of the initiation of an individual aspirant. In the past, and in order to get the idea of initiation into the minds of the people, the hierarchy chose the mode, now obsolete, of holding out the prospect of initiation before the earnest disciple. Upon this they placed an early emphasis of its peculiarity, its rewarding nature, its ritual and ceremonies, and its place in the scale of evolution. Since the fact of initiation had been grasped by many and achieved by some, it has become possible today to reveal what has always been implied, that initiation is a group event. If clear thinking had taken the place of a selfish individual aspiration, the fact of group initiation would have been obvious, and for the following reasons, inherent and implied in the whole situation. 1. The soul, in its own nature, is group conscious and has no individual ambitions or individual interests, and is not at all interested in the aims of its personality. It is the soul which is the initiate. Initiation is a process whereby the spiritual man within the personality becomes aware of himself as the soul, with soul powers, soul relationships, and soul purpose. The moment a man realizes this, even in a small measure, it is the group of which he is conscious. 2. Only the man whose sense of identity is beginning to expand and become inclusive can take initiation, as it is erroneously termed. If initiation were a purely personal achievement, it would throw the man back into the separative consciousness, out of which he is endeavoring to escape. This would not be spiritual progression. Every step upon the path of initiation increases group recognition. Initiation is essentially an expanding series of inclusive recognitions. 3. Initiation admits the aspirant into membership in the hierarchy. This involves, speaking esoterically, the relinquishing of all separative personality reactions in a series of progressive renunciations. These culminate in the 4th initiation, and are again mysteriously emphasized at the 9th initiation. End of page 350. End of chapter 68.